corner representing Uzbekistan, Mavluda Movlinova.
First up then is Mavluda Movlinova, southpaw representing Uzbekistan, national champion of course, and a little bit of championship and world championship experience coming into this too. And she's been pretty busy, already winning an event in 2021 with that under her belt, ready to go for gold. And she's up against the 2019 champion, and that is Pooja from India, another Indian representative going for gold on the back of that magnificent 7 for them at the Youth Championships in Poland recently. She had a walkover in the previous round, so hasn't actually boxed so far in the competition. Is that going to hinder or mean that she comes here fresh and ready to be let off the leash?
Well, Movlinova had a tasty one in her semi-final, beat Marina Volnova of Kazakhstan on a split 3-2. And she actually had a point deducted in the second round for what looked like not really responding to instructions. That was what the referee seemed to be indicating. It wasn't completely clear which instruction, if any, he was referring to. It could have been a kind of repeat offence, and it all came down to one judge in the end who had it 28-28. As for a decision there, the judge went in favour of Movlinova. So that's why we don't have, for the only time tonight, we don't have a Kazakh fighter in the final.
Shades of the Cubans, isn't it? Really, at their very best, dominating divisions. Here we go then, into the first round of this one. And Movlinova in the red, the southpaw, up against currently in the southpaw stance as well, Pooja. She's got plenty of pedigree and experience herself. Just a lovely, careful step out. Lets her hands go quite quickly. Shots to the body as well from Pooja. Well, we wondered if inactivity, let's not forget, Movlinova as well has already been sort of relatively busy in competition so far, winning in Belgrade, has that under her belt, but Pooja's looking pretty sharp, to be honest, right from the start.
Yeah, she is. Good balance about her, just kind of jogging up and down on the balls of her feet, just feinting with that front foot when she gets into distance. Doesn't waste any time in letting those hands go.
And making Movlinova miss there too with the footwork, and so I'm no surprise that the footwork's pretty good in those snazzy pink boots. And that was a clever 1-2 there, punching out of the clinch too, so keeping busy Pooja. Bright start, excellent minute and a half from so far to start.
We're expecting to be competing on home turf, these Indian fighters as well, of course, with the competition originally scheduled for Delhi, so that will have been a disappointment, I'm sure, but the reasons for it completely understandable. She'd almost looked like she stopped there for a second, Movlinova, and looked towards the referee, and Pooja just rattled her ribcage because there was no instruction coming.
And she's been doing that right from the start, hasn't she? There's a busyness as well as the tactics, sharpness and technique. That's the right hand in close. Maybe Movlinova learned from the experience of that moment Andy described. Maybe Movlinova just starting to find her feet towards the end of this round. Good round, good start. And pretty sharp despite the inactivity for the Indian boxer.
She's just very loose, isn't she? Very nice and relaxed. As I mentioned, just kind of just bobbing up and down slightly on the balls of her feet. Nothing major. She's not up on her toes, flying around. But just decent balance, holds those gloves quite low, so relies generally on her reflexes to keep her out of trouble, but nice quick feet as well. Probably had the better of that opening round.
And here we can see some of that looseness perhaps. Just tangling as they both missed in that skirmish. Pooja qualified for the Olympic Games. One of those boxers sort of thought that I can't even imagine the emotions over the course of the last year for those that had realised their dreams and then had them denied because of the world crises, and then left wondering. But at least to be back in competition, that's probably the most important thing for them right now. And although short of competition recently, Pooja's looking pretty sharp here again at the start of the second. There was a shout from the referee to stop, and when the head guard's on, Movlanova can appeal to not have heard. That was a nice right hook from Movlanova. She was clipped there up close. Referee suggests to give what was inside of the arm or the glove.
Yes, just gesturing to the boxer that it was delivered with the inside of the glove. I'm not sure it was really. Left hand over the top there from Pooja. That was what she was looking for anyway. Didn't quite manage to land it. Good example of those feet just there. Just quick movement in, look for the jab, didn't quite reach. Rather than overstretch with it and lose that balance, just took those feet back out.
And I think one thing that the 2020 did afford lots of sportsmen and women, and is, you know, it's probably time to reflect on what it is they've been doing, what direction their careers were going in, and either to revise or renew, adopt different strategies, just to take a step back, maybe afford themselves a little space in their life, just to reevaluate what was working for them, or perhaps what they needed to do. So I suspect we'll see a bit of that in these events coming up.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think it would have been a really good time if you're an athlete just to go back to absolute basics, because you wouldn't have had the facilities probably available to you that you would normally. Boxing is a pretty simple sport in terms of the kit that you need, the equipment that you need. That's one of the great attractions of it down the years. You don't need to have any money at all to get involved in this sport, and therefore if you were just confined to your house, you would still be able to train fairly effectively. So there might have been a lot of drilling going on behind closed doors, just with those feet, using those ladders, shadow boxing in front of the mirror. Pooja just letting her hands go on the inside there as we tick up towards the end of round two.
And there goes the bell. A pretty competitive round. That was perhaps more so than the opener. And that's one thing that occurred to me is you know, how many boxers have actually come out of lockdown, come back to competition in better shape than they were before, or perhaps some that have been overtraining and maybe not quite getting it right.
That was always going to be a problem, wasn't it? Whatever code you're in, when you don't have a date, keeping that motivation high when you don't know when you'll next be competing, can't be the easiest thing in the world. Absolutely not, particularly when you've got the uncertainty surrounding the Olympic Games. Even if you had qualified prior to it all beginning, which which Pooja had, courtesy of that Asian Oceanian qualifier, which did get finished. No one's really known what's happening. So into the third round.
And a quick start from Movlanova, who may well need a big finish. Nice left hand there from her as well. Punching with a little more certainty at the start of this round. Oh, she was clipped again. That's a couple of times, Andy, isn't it, where I see either carelessness or inexperience. Something has cost her. She dropped her hands, or she's looked away. She's not been concentrating on the fighter in front of her, and she's paid for it.
Pooja's just a bit sharper, isn't she, in all departments, really. She looks the more seasoned of these two. They've both got a good amount of experience, but Pooja is 8 years older, 8 years wiser, you would say, has been around at this kind of level for a lot longer, and she looks at home in there. We said right from the beginning she looks nice and relaxed, she looks nice and loose, nice and fluid. She throws plenty but doesn't really load up with anything. That's a result of being in that kind of zen state of mind, if you like, inside the ring. Movlanova, by comparison, just looks a little bit tighter, at times a little bit more hesitant, as they both end up on the canvas there.
And I think because of that style that you're touching on with Pooja, that she is quite efficient, and you fancy that she's always boxing within herself in terms of energy, and that when it gets hard can only down the stretch be an advantage to her. She's done it again. She's made her opponent, Movlanova, she's made her miss one way or another. And with Movlanova either turning round or dropping her hands or not focusing and paying attention, she's had a free shot or two on several occasions now. 3 notable occasions that's happened.
I think she's feeling the pace of this, Movlanova, now as we head towards the final stages of round 3.
Yeah, she's put in a big effort. There again, she's turned. I think she's basically inviting the referee to come and help her out. Nice solid jab there from Pooja. But she's put a lot into this, Movlanova, in the final round. She really has tried. Not always worked for her. She had a good start with a flurry of punches in the opening 10-20 seconds. She has given it everything, but she's been a little bit frayed and loose. Very much jagged and tired, I think, in the last minute or so. You can see it's she's had to put in a shift here.
Pooja, by comparison, looks like she could do this for 10 or 15 rounds. It's been a good performance, really has. As you mentioned, she got a walkover against Mongolia in the semis, so this is her first fight of the competition. But she's won that one, and you'd say she's won it by a clear margin.
Big smile on her face when she turned away as well. They both punched the air, but the more convincing celebrations, I think, from Pooja. Great credit to Movlanova. I think the effort that she put in that final round was absolutely terrific.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner by unanimous decision in the blue corner representing India.
Pooja, she does it again. 2019 champion. Now 2 years on, in 21, she gets it done again. And well, that was a class performance, particularly given the potential for ring rustiness, Andy. That was a class act.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very experienced fighter. Has been operating at the highest level for a long time now. Won a silver medal at the Asian Championships back in 2012. So she knows exactly what this is all about, and wasn't put off in the slightest by the fact that, as you said, this was her first outing. She'll have been around this for the last 10 days almost. Athletes started to arrive around about the 20th, 21st, and she hasn't boxed until the second to last day. So that can get into your head. If you're a less experienced kind of operator, you could burn a bit of nervous energy watching your teammates, fretting about what may or may not be to come down the line for you. But she obviously hasn't spent any of her time doing that, none whatsoever. That was indicated by her performance. Absolutely, be very interesting to see her go in the Olympic Games.
Well, she was one of 2 gold medals at these championships in 2019. 13 medals in all for India at those championships. Still got an opportunity to match the gold tally with Anna Palmer coming up in the heavyweight final in 2 fights' time. Still got 2 more light heavyweight and heavyweight bouts, and India represented in the 81 plus kilograms. So a chance to match that gold medal tally from a couple of years ago.
Wait,